Welcome to Building the Premier Accounting Firm. This is a podcast dedicated to helping individuals both start and build their premier accounting firm. The intent is to give you ideas, suggestions, tips, and tricks on what it is you can do to actually price your services more effectively, market and sell your services with confidence, and most importantly, offer quality services so that you can retain your clients and get paid what you're worth. I'm your host, Roger Connect. I've been doing this for more than 20 plus years, helping individuals both start and build their accounting businesses around the world. In doing so, I've made some great friends and helped people become very successful, and I'm pleased to do this each and every week so as to help you actually accomplish your goals and dreams. Each week I have guests on the show, experts, to help us actually discuss the things that are relevant to you and also share insights on how it is that you can actually apply these principles in your business. Now, today we have a special guest. This is someone I'm excited to have. It's Tiffany Higgins Cpa. She happens to be a mother of 5 and the former owner of a bookkeeping business. After 4 years of experiencing all the amazing benefits that a virtual bookkeeping business provided to her family, such as unlimited vacation time, abilities to travel, no longer needing to budget, upgrading her lifestyle, brand new car, a house with a pool and tennis court, paying off her debt, etc., she decided to launch Stay-at-Home Bookkeeping Academy, where she could teach other moms who are busy how to follow her footsteps and actually create their ideal lifestyle so that they could have their cake and eat it too. This allows families to build wealth while still getting to experience the everyday lives and milestones that their children are having. So with that being said, Tiffany, welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you so much. Happy to be here.
This is going to be fun. I think we have a lot in common, and I'm just so excited to learn your story. Let's just actually start there. I know that you actually, after becoming a CPA, were working, doing tax, you got a pay raise, and everything was exciting, but you began working those 60-hour weeks. What was that experience like way back then that propelled you to start your own accounting business?
Yeah, so I guess that tax season that I entered into right after I passed my CPA exam was kind of like a pivotal tax season for me, officially being a CPA and really have worked really hard to kind of, quote unquote, climb the corporate ladder there. And I also ended up having a baby, my third child, right before tax season. So tax season was very, very challenging, as it would be with a newborn. And then after tax season was over, I actually did get a raise for passing my CPA exam and officially being a CPA during my first tax season. But the raise was so insignificant that it, kind of ended up being like a slap in the face, basically.
Okay.
So from there, I just decided it wasn't really worth continuing on in that corporate path.
So what you thought was a slap in the face actually became the motivation to start your own business?
Yes. Yeah. At that point, I felt like I didn't have anything to lose.
And when you started your business, was it with the intent of just doing accounting services, or were you wanting to do audit as you had in the previous business? What was your goal with the new company?
My goal originally was to do tax and bookkeeping.
Okay.
And so that's what I launched out to do.
And when you started, I'm sure you had a journey going on there, one of which everybody can perhaps relate to. What was it like for you to start your own business?
It was probably very similar to what a lot of people experience. You kind of have an emotional roller coaster when you become an entrepreneur. Jumping out there, there's a lot of excitement, but there's also a lot of fear of the unknown, not knowing exactly how it's going to work out or how you're going to get clients or what your life is going to be like, and having to navigate those feelings back and forth between excitement and, thrill to worry and fear and going back and forth.
One of the things that I can relate to is you're right. There's this excitement about starting the business, so much opportunity and potential. But as I work with so many people, you're right. There's a fear and anxiety that also can step in because of the unknown. Just how am I supposed to do this? So there's that balance of balancing the enthusiasm with the fear and keeping focused. So you start your business, you go out there and you start getting the accounting clients and you experience success. Tell us about the success you started to have.
Yeah, I was actually really surprised by that, to be honest. When I was working at the CPA firm, I could tell how much they were billing, obviously,
Hmm.
through bookkeeping clients. And I handled all the bookkeeping for the firm. So I knew how long it took me to do that work. So in my mind, I just was really planning on picking up a couple of clients and making it a real small, basically like a little side hustle, accounting and bookkeeping business. But I started going out and networking and meeting people and realizing that pretty much everyone that I was meeting was a potential client, everyone. So, with that, it made it really easy to build relationships and friendships. And then those just blossomed into working client relationships very easily. So, that's kind of how it got started. And it really took off from there. And I mean, I even had a little kid at home that was an 8-month old that was going to networking meetings with me and things like that.
That is awesome. So there's a few things there that I think are really important that I really want to draw attention to. One, like so many, you were obviously doing this, like you said, as a side hustle. You had your full-time job. You were starting to get clients on the side, doing them on weekends and evenings. But all of a sudden, through that, you started to have that success that was unexpected. And the thing that I really also liked is the networking element that you mentioned. The reason why I bring that up is because of how much this is still truly a people business. As much
Mhm.
as we love and enjoy the numbers, it's still a people business. And so you were out there making those connections, using your 8-month-old baby as a way to draw people to you, perhaps. But nonetheless, you got the clients, and you were pleasantly surprised. So tell me about that time where you finally decided, I'm going to do this full time and step away from my daytime job.
Yeah, so it was kind of a slow progression to that, honestly. But once I started picking up, two, three, four clients, and I realized how profitable this really is, it was like a light bulb kind of went on in my mind. And I thought, why do I need this to be a side hustle? Like, we could literally change our entire family's lives by, making this kind of more of a focus. And so
Mhm.
I realized, right off the bat, the first major improvement we could have in our lifestyle would be to bring my husband home. And so that kind of became like my next goal. Okay, I covered my pay pretty quickly after I quit my job at the CPA firm. But now, how hard would it be to replace my husband's income? Because we would only really need, a small handful of additional clients to do that. So it was kind of baby steps, following the breadcrumbs, and then kind of getting addicted to reaching those goals and seeing how it impacted our life in such a positive way.
I love that. You hit one milestone, you looked for the next one, and you were striving for that next thing, which was to bring him home. I think those are admirable goals. It's very clear, succinct, and you're able to literally see when you achieve them. The curiosity that I have now is, what would you say were the services that you were offering that were appealing, that were resonating with the business owners, that allowed you to grow so much? Were you niching in any way? Were you offering a particular service that you felt resonated with the business owners? What was the draw, do you think?
Yeah, I think probably the biggest draw for most of my clients was the fact that they could trust me and that I was more than just somebody that was going to put transactions into a computer program. They needed that person that could explain their financials, help them understand how that works with their taxes. And for a while, I was even their tax person, even though down the road I decided I really didn't enjoy doing taxes, but I
Hmm.
still kind of leveraged that and help them navigate, all those confusing things that business owners just they don't have time to understand how the tax law works and how their profit affects their overall financial health.
Well, I appreciate you putting it in that context. Sometimes people believe that the accounting work that we're doing is somehow magical in the sense that people pay us because we're so good at the numbers. In reality, I agree with you. It's that ability to communicate the information to the client in such a way that the information is now useful, empowering them to make more informed business decisions. What they're looking for is somebody that can be that translator, that can make sense of all this information. We're doing a great job of creating the financials, but are we doing a good enough job communicating what that information is? And if you can get that reputation, the clients get drawn to you simply because they know that you're that like a horse whisperer, right? You're that accounting whisperer. You're the one that's able to do these magical things with the numbers to help them make sense so that the people can run their businesses more effectively and profitably. So I like that perspective. Now, you get to this point where you're running well, you're having success with your business, you're doing great. At this point, have you had the twins, or are you? Do you have the twins after you start the academy?
I had the twins after it was about 2 years into owning my bookkeeping business. So before I
Okay.
started the academy, but so I was able to go through an entire twin pregnancy and then have these twins with a C-section, which obviously, would takes a lot more recovery. And then
Hmm.
also nursing them for 2 years. And I think back about that whole entire journey and how my bookkeeping business was such a godsend during that time because I was able to just, take back the marketing, stop the marketing, and just focus on the current clients. And
Hmm.
the amount of hours I had to put in was so minimal and so flexible that I was able to get through that pregnancy with a breeze and be able to attend all those doctor's appointments. Because with twins, you got to go to a lot more doctor's appointments and then of course my bookkeeping business allowing my husband to be home with me was also just amazing because he was there to help me through that and help take care of the other three kids while I was, resting or working on the bookkeeping business. So it was such a blessing to have had that business.
I think what you just shared is an excellent example. It's the epitome of the freedom that a lot of entrepreneurs look for. Life throws at us so many curveballs, maybe even challenges, and to be able to have that flexibility as an entrepreneur to run the business and deal with those life circumstances is incredible. And that's an excellent example of that, because many of the entrepreneurs have various goals as to why they each start their business. Some might be the financial side, the fame, it could be the flexibility and freedom. Who knows what the motivations are to offer quality services that are needed in the marketplace. But all of a sudden you were in a situation where your life demanded your time and attention, and you were able to provide it to your twins and family. So that's amazing. I love that.
Mhm.
So let's talk about now with your business. You're having the success with your company. You're obviously offering quality accounting services. You're successful. Tell me about this idea of creating an academy and now doing something else. Tell me about that idea at the time in the very beginning.
Yeah, absolutely. So there was kind of a few things that transpired. I ended up selling my bookkeeping business, and my plan was to kind of niche down because kind of asked this question earlier. I never
Mhm.
really went into a certain niche. I was kind of a generalist practice, but I
Okay.
kept hearing a lot from coaches and various people in the industry about how much more successful that you can be if you niche down. So I thought, I'm going to start fresh. I know how to build this up. So I decided to sell my bookkeeping business and start fresh with a new firm and niching down. And I actually chose the cannabis industry at the time to really focus
Wow.
on.
Love it.
Yeah, it was really fun. And so I thought right from the get go, I'm going to start this one with a team member because my previous bookkeeping business, I ran that completely myself, which is awesome in itself. I was almost up to about $200,000 a year in annual revenue with no staff member and five kids at home, and that we were homeschooling and and nursing. So doable. But I had aspirations to see how far I could take it. So this new firm was going to be full of team members and was going to grow it that way. And so the first girl that I had hired was working part time, and she had a 5-month old at home. And I know one day she came to work and she said, "Hey, I just want to let you know I'm going to start a bookkeeping business on the side because our family really needs more money, but I don't want to be away from my son anymore." And
Hmm.
so I thought to myself, of course, like that's exactly why I started my business. And but I was thinking, man, she is so new. She only had finished her accounting degree and she had a short internship working for someone else. But outside of that, that's it. No experience or anything. And so I thought to myself, well, she's in the perfect position to do this because I've been through all of this and she can come to work anytime and ask me questions and I can help her like streamline the whole process, how she should structure her packages, how she should, talk to clients and market and do the sales calls and actually complete the work efficiently. I've been through all that. So I could be her mentor basically. And I was just driving to a cannabis event, actually. And I was sitting there thinking about that in my head. And I thought, if I can help her with this, I can help a lot of people. So that's kind of where it started.
So one of the things that really captures my attention here is there's what's referred to as Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And once you've climbed to the pinnacle of that, you have this self-actualization and oftentimes experience this interest to give back, to help, to leave a legacy and so forth. And it sounds to me like you're experiencing that moment of, oh my heavens, I've actually gotten to a point where I've experienced success and I think I can help others do the same. Is that a good analogy or depiction of what it is you're describing?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Now, here's your husband. You were able to bring him home, replace his income. You sell the business. How's he with this whole process of now wanting to start another thing? You know, you're going into the cannabis at that moment. How's your husband been through this entire process?
Yeah, I mean, he's been flexible, we'll say. He's really gotten to have an awesome life out of basically putting a lot of his trust and faith in me, which is,
Hmm.
been really, really awesome. He's gotten to be a stay-at-home dad over the last 6 years. And so that's been a great benefit for him. But I do recall at the very beginning when I decided to quit the CPA firm, he was pretty nervous, and kind of questioning it. Are you sure you can do this? But by the time I built up enough clients to bring him home, he didn't really even think twice about it. He was like, yeah, let's do this. Let's just see if we can keep growing this thing. So it didn't take him long to see the same thing that I saw, the potential in this
Hmm.
bookkeeping business. And, from watching it from the inside and also just seeing how profitable these businesses are, it's just real easy to jump on board.
Exactly. Now, I think it's wonderful that you have that support. It's amazing when we have our spouses support us as we take these risks, to know that we've got a champion in our corner. And more importantly, that they're willing to kind of go through the ups and downs, the highs and lows of the entire experience.
Hmm.
That is reassuring. And so I'm so proud that you've got that rock there in your relationship. So
Yes.
I'm curious about your children. You've got five children, the
Hmm.
older ones. What do you think they're noticing from you as you've been this successful mom going out there and being not only just a success in business, but the owner and the one that's kind of paving the way for some of these things?
Yeah, yeah. They're the older two are teenagers now. They're 15 and 16. And
Hmm.
I've really finally started seeing the effects of what it's been like for them watching their mom build a business like this. And I will tell you, like, it gives me chills because they have grown so much more in their teenage years, I think, than I did in all of my 20s. Just having something like this as a role model, as like,
Hmm.
something that they can see. My 16-year-old officially became a business owner himself last week. So
Nice.
really exciting stuff. And I swear his mindset is leaps and bounds of where mine was at his age. I'd say he's twice twice his age in just the way his mindset works because of all the work I've had to do on myself. It trickles down to your kids, which as parents, like, what more could you ask for?
Yeah, it's amazing what our children learn from observation. They tend to mimic us. My children are older now, and so I'm starting to see little idiosyncrasies in them that come from me. And like they say
Hmm.
things, do things, think certain ways simply because of mirroring what it is that either myself or my mother or their mother has done. Um, I've got a kind of a question here that I don't know exactly how to ask it. What is it that you think they're learning, or what is it that you hope they're learning as you're doing this and they're growing up? What do you think they're gaining from this experience being children of you?
I think they have a different type of money mindset than I did
Okay.
growing up. Like, I know, especially for my 16-year-old, he is looking at how having a business like this kind of changes your whole perception of money. and time and your value of time and what that really means. And he's taken it such a step further that he's obsessed with learning about ways to leverage money and create passive income and passive long-term family wealth, which can all be kickstarted and jump-started by having a bookkeeping business.
Oh, yeah. So what you just shared with me, I think is huge, because when I've asked this question of people that have been raised in military families where they're traveling all the time, or when I've asked this question of people who have been children of entrepreneurs who see mom and dad taking risks and sometimes living with scarcity, there's different mindsets that come out of that. But as you're describing this, they've obviously kind of tapped into the really positive things, which are money management, having a healthy relationship with money, seeing its potential. You mentioned passive income. These are wonderful that as a teenager, if you can understand, I agree wholeheartedly. When you get to be an adult, it's going to put you in a totally different stratosphere of what it is you're going to be able to accomplish in life just because you have that financial understanding.
Mm-hmm.
And bookkeeping as a business, offering accounting services, what we're doing is such a great means to achieve all of that. So that is great. Here's my next question, and it's a little different. Working with individuals that want to be successful in accounting, I think there's certain characteristics that make them successful. So how do you empower or teach so many people with maybe, let's say, with limited or without prior experience to be successful? What do you think is the needed component?
Yeah, I think there's just a couple of small things. One is what I've found the most successful students are the ones that just truly like to help people, because that's really what it's all about, is helping these business owners, understand their finances, but also just to be able to sleep at night knowing the stuff is being looked at and taken care of by somebody that really understands it. Even if you don't understand it right away, you'll learn really quickly if you focus on it. So, people that really care about others, that's such a great quality. And then also just being open to learning. I know one of the biggest lessons I learned when I started my business is that even though I have an accounting degree, I've worked with QuickBooks for 20 years, and I have a CPA, and I worked in a CPA firm for 5 years, I felt like I didn't know anything when I started my business. And that was like hard for me at first. But then I realized that in this industry, you just have to be open to constantly learning and being okay with the fact that you're not going to know everything, because it's impossible to know everything in this accounting and tax space all the time, especially with it changing. So as long as you're the type of person that has a growth mindset, or you can teach yourself to have a growth mindset and be open to learning, then that's the key thing that you need.
Those characteristics that you just shared are so important. I couldn't agree with you more, because as I've worked with so many people, I agree. Patience to work with a client when they don't have the aptitude with the accounting information like they do with what they're successful doing in their business, it sometimes requires a little bit of patience, because what we think is so obvious in the accounting information, whether it be just interpreting the data or looking at the trends, it's sometimes difficult, and there needs to be a level of patience to interact with the client. And when you have it, it allows that client relationship to be so much more fulfilling, because you're there obviously patiently learning and helping them understand. And I think that's wonderful. The other thing, and I think this is the word I would use to describe what you shared, but it's curiosity. When I work with business owners and I get to learn about their companies, and I get to learn how they run their business and what it is that they do to provide that product or service, how they market it, how they fulfill it, that to me is fascinating. It's that childhood curiosity of just, how does this all work? And when I go in to meet with a client, it's not just give me your transactions, I'll record them, and I'll give them back to you in a financial statement. It's, I want to know what these numbers mean. What's behind them? What's happening? And when I see things that are anomalies, I'm curious to know what happened that changed what used to be a norm. Tell me about it. What was it? It was, and they'll tell you, a machine broke, or a client changed, or an employee left, or we hired somebody else new, or we bought a new software system when we've been training on. There's a story behind all of these things, and that curiosity causes an interest in the business that the client, the business owner, appreciates. Somebody actually is curious about my business, and what better thing to talk about? They want to talk about their own company, and so they're happy to divulge and share the information. It allows for a wonderful relationship. And then your last thing of open-mindedness. In business, it's amazing, especially in the last few years after COVID and so forth, things have changed. You have to be open to new ways to market, new ways to interact with your clients, new ways to fulfill products. And in the accounting space, we've got new technologies that come on the scene, new apps and software that complement what we do either internally in our own business or with our clients. And so we need to be in a position where we can obviously be open-minded to take these things into consideration. So I really liked what you shared there. So here's my next question. What are some of the ways that you have found accountants, bookkeepers are successful implementing things that you teach them?
Yeah, I mean, I think the way that we structure our pricing is probably the biggest component to uh, getting our students success. Just because we do value pricing, we do
Oh, good.
value and fixed package pricing. So that way, it's very easy for them to determine when they talk to a new client where they're going to fit in these packages. So it streamlines the whole lead to client and onboarding piece. So that part's not as overwhelming and can be done a lot more fast and more efficiently. And then also setting it up in a way in which that it's reoccurring revenue, and your goal is to get a client that is going to stay with you long term, because then at some point you really don't even have to do any marketing because you've reached a nice base level of clients that you want, and then you can
Mhm.
rely on organic referrals and stuff like that coming in. So I think that's why our students have so much success, because you don't have to constantly look for new clients like you do if you are selling a product or something of that nature.
So true. I'm glad you brought up pricing. Pricing is always a fascinating topic. There's a
Mhm.
number of people out there that have different opinions on it. There are different strategies. So let me just kind of lay the groundwork for this, and then I'd love to have a little bit more insight as to your thoughts on it. Obviously, in the accounting world, there's this conversation about hourly billing. So that's a given that comes up in the conversation. So there's addressing the hourly component. Generally, from that, people will transition into then picking some other way other than billing. You brought up value pricing. So there's strategies. Now, the most common that I'm familiar with is you can get into what's called fixed pricing, and that's something that you can determine based on transactions and so forth. The next typically is the evolution into what's called menu pricing. That's something that you just alluded to a moment ago. Generally, it's made up of three options, bundles, packages that are pre-prepared and the client selects from. The other is revenue-based pricing. You'll hear that one a lot, where it's based on the revenue of the client, how much they're actually doing top-line revenue that determines then how large they are, and that helps with the determining of your pricing. And then the last one is the value-based pricing, determining what kind of impact you're going to have in the business for the client and what that will monetarily mean to them, either savings or potential earnings, and then calculating your fee based on that type of growth or savings. What would you add to this type of a conversation as people are asking about pricing and strategies? What's your philosophy on all of this?
Yeah, I mean, I think we take kind of like a hybrid approach really to all of those things. When we're offering like basic bookkeeping services, we usually do fixed price packages, but they're based loosely on revenue, and that helps you
Okay.
determine exactly which package that a business would fall into given their annual revenue range. So it makes it
Hmm.
real easy to determine. But then also when you've got clients that have cleanup work, we take, some value pricing in with that, and also kind of determining their revenue range and what their package price would be, and to create a fixed fee for that. So for cleanup work and things. And then as they progress and want to learn additional higher level skills like CFO work or adding tax planning and tax preparation into their fees, that's when you can really take the value pricing and, like you said, scale it up to what you're actually providing them and how much money that you can actually save them by helping them take control of of this kind of stuff.
Exactly. I liked how you kind of laid that out. There's definitely the back work that gets brought into this. Traditionally, that's where you'd find the hourly because it's kind of an open-ended thing. Where's it going to go? But you can do a value component to it because there's a worth that the client sees in having it taken care of. I liked how you brought up the CFO related services when you're getting into more advisory and coaching type services beyond the quality accounting services that you're traditionally offering.
Mm-hmm.
That gives you a chance to get into something that's more abstract, and the value there is definitely more defined by you and the client that isn't really a monetary type thing. And so you're able to give some value pricing there very easily. With this philosophy of getting into more CFO advisory type services, this is a thing that a lot of accountants strive for. They see themselves doing. They're encouraged to offer more. What are your thoughts about that transition to going beyond accounting services into that advisory work?
Yeah, I mean, I think I've got maybe about 50% of my students that are just super happy with doing bookkeeping and providing those typical services to clients. But then I have about half of my students that want to know, how can I have an even bigger impact on my
Yeah.
clients and provide even more services to them? So they do like to get into there and really learn how they can be more of like a strategic partner with each one of their clients instead of just being the bookkeeping and accounting piece of it. So I think there's pros and cons to doing both. I really enjoyed having a bookkeeping firm and being able to streamline those processes, mostly because at that time and that point in my life, my kids were little and I was focusing on them. But as you grow, and this is another thing I love about having a bookkeeper and accounting business, you can transform it whenever you want, however you want, at any
Yeah.
time. So if you decide you want to start offering these higher level services down the road, you can most certainly do that. And you also don't have to offer it to every client, which is great flexibility as well.
So true. I love this. So I agree with you. There are a lot of people that, and you shared this at the beginning, offering bookkeeping services, you didn't necessarily want to offer tax services. And so you chose to initially just offer bookkeeping services. Down the road, an individual could say, you know what, maybe I do want to offer tax services. I've prepared all the financials. Why not now just do the final step and fill in the tax forms and do that? Maybe do tax planning. But that's a choice that every owner gets to make about their accounting business. Now, when you do this a while, what happens is you can then consider, do I do accounting services? But to your point, with the experience and with the opportunities of financial reward, there are points where I do have numerous conversations with accounting professionals where they're drawn to doing more the CFO advisory type work simply because of either the financial gain, there's so much more of a profit margin there that can be gained.
Mm-hmm.
But more importantly, I find a lot of people start to have enough confidence because of the experience they've had now in the profession, working with their clients, now having done this for a few years, that they literally feel like they have something to give to the clients that's more than just the accounting, and to take their interaction, the relationship with their clients to another level and go deeper into that business's success, have a greater impact, appeals to them. And so whether it's financially driven because there's so much more money to be made in the advisory beyond the accounting services, or simply drawn to the fact that they feel they can really help their clients at another level, those two motivations give people reasons to get into it. But I'm curious, what do you find are the biggest roadblocks that you see individuals facing that holds them back, whether it's getting into a new service, maybe even going so far as offering CFO or advisory services? What are the roadblocks that stops them from making that evolution or taking that next step?
Yeah, I think it's really the approach in how you attract clients, because if you're going after bookkeeping only, or maybe even people that are just focusing heavily on being prepared for tax time, it's a little bit of a different target audience than if you're trying to look for somebody that's looking for a CFO or that wants these higher level services. So I think it can be a roadblock a little bit at the beginning, just learning that you're maybe attracting a different type of client.
Yeah. So what I'm understanding is you have to market it and sell it a little differently. And so
Yes.
a roadblock could easily be, I just don't know where I'm going to find these types of clients, or more importantly, how I'm going to properly position, perhaps price that service. And I agree with you. That is kind of that unknown. You don't know what you don't know. And so for some reason, that's well, it's not for some reason. It's a good reason to kind of hold back and not really act. But what we're both discussing here, I think, is the fact that there is that way to transition, and there's good reason to transition. What I find myself personally doing is oftentimes just, first of all, starting with giving permission. You have the experience, you have the expertise, you've got what it takes to offer services to a client that can be beneficial. Do you find yourself, Tiffany, having that same conversation with people as well?
Yeah, absolutely. We have students that like to kind of graduate into that, and we can show them how much more they can impact their clients by transitioning into this. But you're right, there's a lot more to learn, and it's just a different phase of your business. So when you're ready to do that, when you're ready to take your business to another level, this is definitely a next step that you can take.
Excellent. Exactly. It is the next step. And I think it's a worthy one that we should all encourage the accounting profession to take. Here's a question for you. I want to go now back to the beginning a little bit. Here you are. I'm sure we've got listeners today that are in the position of deciding, do they go deeper into this, maybe even start their accounting, bookkeeping, tax business? What's the important parts of starting the business that they should consider, that you think they should be aware of? What has your experience taught you that you think they should know?
Well, I mean, it's always great to have a mentor, no matter, who it is. You definitely need a mentor, because otherwise you're just reinventing the wheel. And we've all been there and done that before. So if you can streamline that process, it only gives you more time back to put into marketing or growth or servicing your clients or spending time with your family. So I believe having a mentor is going to be the first step in really getting this off the ground.
You're so right. A mentor can literally accelerate the success and further ensure the success, avoiding some of the pitfalls that are typically along the way. So that is great advice. Let me ask, on that note, have you worked with a mentor? And if so, what was one of the big lessons that you took from that experience?
Yeah, absolutely. When I first launched my business, there weren't a ton of mentors out there that I had come across. So I wasn't as fortunate enough to have help when I first launched my bookkeeping business. But I did have a marketing mentor, Eric Greenspan. He just recently passed away, but I will never forget the lessons that I learned from him. And one of the things that has stuck with me all of these years is that he said, always price your clients so that you are running down the stairs excited to do their work. So that's always like really helped me with quoting and understanding my value. If I'm not excited about it, I probably underquoted.
I think that's excellent advice. I was speaking with someone recently about pricing, and they had a conversation with a client who was questioning why it was so expensive. And his answer back to the client was, look, you can either pay me so that when I think of doing your work, I'm not interested and I try to avoid it and find other things to do that are more exciting or pay better, or you can pay me so that I'm excited and eager to do your work, and at the end of the day do better because I got sucked into it and wanted to over deliver because of how much I know you appreciated and valued my work.
Oh, I
That
love
was
that.
his answer to the client. And the client's like, okay, that makes sense. I want you focused on my work. I want your attention on my work. I'm going to pay you believing that you're going to be excited about it. So in other words, the whole discussion of can you do it for less kind of went out the door, because how do you respond to that as a client, right? No, I actually don't want you to be excited about my work. It was a phenomenal response. And I just thought a lot of that. And that was just recently that I heard that. Um, this is kind of off the wall. This is going to be kind of a related thing with the mentor thing. But what is it about your business that has afforded you freedoms that you didn't expect? What are some of the benefits that you've received that just really have surprised you?
Yeah, I mean, aside from, just having the ability to have so much more income coming in a very fast time frame. That's given me the ability to have so much help at home so that I can still spend a ton of time with my kids and my family, be able to travel. I love the fact that we don't ever have to budget. Like as an accountant, maybe we should, but I love not having to pinch and know that I only have so much earmarked for my groceries. I mean, that's been like the biggest thing that my bookkeeping business did for us. And when something fun or unique comes up, like my kids they were going to go to Europe for a school field trip. I didn't even have to think twice about saying yes to that. I just knew we could and we could figure it out. And those kinds of things, like just that financial freedom, but just also the flexibility of being able to do whatever you want in a day. You can take the whole day off and go to the zoo with your kids on Tuesday if you want to do that.
That is wonderful. I agree. Financial freedom is so not only relaxing and freeing, but it is something that is liberating. What you described there is, I think, something that a lot of people strive for, and it's nice to hear how you've described it. So thank you.
Yep.
I'm gonna kind of wrap this up now. I think this has been an amazing conversation. Like I said at the beginning, I was looking forward to speaking with Tiffany and hearing what you had to share about your journey, your experience, and what you've witnessed as you've been working with people to help them be successful. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of wrap this up. And as I wrap it up, I'm going to then come back to you for a final thought to see if we can just kind of put a good end to this. But before I do my recap, I just want to share with you a few offers that you'll definitely want to take advantage of. This will be found in the episode description that you can actually go online and see related to this episode here. In that, you will actually find information that Tiffany is providing for individuals that are interested in starting and looking at actually getting into offering bookkeeping, accounting, and basically bookkeeping and accounting services as well as high-level prep, CFO, and advisory work. You'll find information in the description there on what it is that you can do to actually grow and in her academy, see what those experiences can look like and how you can achieve them going through her program. In addition to this, she also has individuals that want to be part of her elite program where they talk about things that are related to CFO services, tax planning and preparation, and scaling the marketing around that type of service as well. It's the Elite Mastermind program that you'll want to check out. Now, with regards to the Academy, they have a great deal of resources there that actually complement starting and building successful accounting businesses. So with Tiffany's experience and background, you can tap into that and see what it is she's able to offer you as you're working on your business. And I encourage you to check that out. You'll find in the episode descriptions the links and the information to take advantage of those, as well as a Facebook group that she's also created to assist individuals that are interested there. The other information that you'll find, just because it's related to our conversation today, is there is information regarding basically turnkey business practices, what it is that you can be doing to work on your business so that you can actually have a business plan, a goal. It'll address various things that basically like we discussed today, pricing, marketing, just simple things that would be beneficial to you as you're working on starting your business. The third thing that I'd like to point out in the episode description is it's there you'll actually get a copy of the ebook in the black. It's 9 Principles to Make Your Business Profitable. It's here that you'll actually get the short-term, midterm, and long-term goals that you need to be focusing on as you work on your business to ensure that you are profitable. And these are the same principles that you can likewise take to your clients to ensure their success as well. Now, with those things, definitely go to the episode description, get those. But let me recap what it is that we've talked about today. The first thing that I loved is Tiffany was just sharing her situation, her story as to how she moved from having a job, if we will, into starting her business. And I think it's so relatable. A lot of people find that life kind of brings to them these opportunities. And she was so surprised at how quickly that success came and how much it was. She was able to actually grow her business to the point of bringing her husband home. And I think that's such an admirable goal. It's something that she was able to do that allowed them to do homeschooling and kind of have that family-centric opportunity. She later had a situation with twins that, being that she had her own business, she was able to have the flexibility and freedom to meet the needs of the twins as the family was growing there. I think that's such a telling example of what so many of us experience in our lives as we're starting and building our businesses. Is sometimes those challenges arise where we need to maybe put our attention elsewhere outside of the business, and the flexibility is there to do so. The other thing that I think she was so good at describing is the success, the potential that's available in operating as a successful accounting bookkeeping business. And she described it at the end so well by financial freedom, just the ability to, when opportunities present themselves, especially around our children, we don't have to second guess or question whether or not we're going to afford them that opportunity. We're able to give that to them. And the other thing that I thought was so helpful is she spoke of her teenage children learning from their observations of Tiffany going out there and being this entrepreneurial person, this successful businesswoman. They're drawing so many important lessons for themselves out of this, that they are better individuals as well. In fact, as she described it, many years ahead of themselves, or ahead of where she was at that time in her life when she was a teenager. And I can attest to that, seeing that in my own children as well. Now, the last thing I'd like to point out is I really appreciated the fact that she, through all of her successes, chose to start an academy. Just being in a position where we're able to give back and put together programs where we can help people accelerate their success. And with her academy, literally offers some great resources to individuals to have the successful accounting business that they're striving to achieve. So with all that being said, I thought this was an excellent episode, and I hope it's one that you enjoyed listening to, just because of her perspective and insights, and also the tidbits of knowledge that we were able to gain from that. So, Tiffany, what final thoughts would you like to add to this conversation?
I would just like to say, I know a lot of accountants and bookkeepers tend to be hard on themselves. So just remember, as you're growing this, you don't have to know everything. And as long as you're willing to continue to learn, you're already 10 steps ahead of everyone else.
Perfect. Love it. And that says, well, what we need to hear today. So with that being said, let me just recap, or not recap, but rather invite you to listen to the other episodes that we have for the podcast. We're listening to the experts and hearing what it is they have to share as to how to have the premier accounting firm in your area. And in doing so, actually help you offer quality accounting services and get paid what you're worth. So subscribe now to the podcast. And in doing so, get notified of the different episodes as they're released. And realize that if you'd like more information on how you can apply these principles in your business, you can visit us at universalaccounting.com or give us a phone call. You can reach us at 801-265-3777. Be safe out there, and always remember, if it's about accounting, it is universal. Take care and have a great day.